And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to what could be the last game of the evening. It is Origen versus Rogue Game 4. Origen are currently 2-1 up in the series. Rogue have side selection, and they have picked blue side once again. Ender, my man, it feels like Origen were napping a little bit in Game 1. They got rolled over. Origen really didn't show up. Rogue had a fantastic win. But the last two games have felt a little bit more up to what we were expecting, the type of plays, the type of control that OG was showing. So if that is true, and you choose not to correct me, what's your expectations for this last game? And like, how do Rogue find a level of play or decision-making to force us into Game 5?
Right. So I think Origen really, Game 1, let's just sort of write that one off. The draft's a little wonky. Their gameplay early on, Xerxe did not look like his regular self. But since then, I think Xerxe and Alphari have both been playing absolutely on point and just look phenomenal. Through the early games, Xerxe's pathing, all of these things, they look great. Now, Rogue coming into this game, they're on blue side, they chose it again. It's the same bans, and this is perfect. I do not believe that Rogue need to change anything in the draft phase. I've already seen some criticism thrown towards that Echo pick. I don't think that was actually a big problem for Rogue here. I think the way Rogue played within the game ended up costing them big time. They overforced on some fights that ended up getting punished really, really hard on those, and then in those pivotal fights around the Drakes later on, they did not properly ward their flanks against the Alphari flanks there. So this is a game where I think Rogue can run back very similar coming into this one, and if they choose their fights better and ward more effectively, they are looking to be in a wonderful position to go toe-to-toe against OG.
I really like that idea, and I think what is important to call out as well is like that in between two towers, not Ivern's, in between two towers dive that took place. Oh, I'd love to, dude. I would love to. Really cost Rogue. It set them up. It got Nukeduck ahead. It got upset ahead. Crucially, it got Xerxe ahead. I think he actually picked up 2 kills and an assist out of the whole trade. And then Xerxe's Pantheon just ran away with the game. Okay, look. We obviously are a couple of picks and bans here already into draft. As you've already called out, Karthus, Gragas, Senna, no real changes from Rogue. Aphelios, first pick, the same as the previous game. Unlike the previous game, with the Xia, Kalista, Syndra being banned, the Renekton is open and available. So that has now been the pick along with Nautilus in place of the Azir. You would assume MF will get locked in first rotation to sit next to that Nautilus. We've seen them paired so many times together, and you'll assume the Tom Kench for Rogue. So what else do Rogue want to lock in during this first phase?
Well, I will say hold your horses on the Nautilus. That could go mid lane here for Nukeduck. You never know when he's playing there. I do like the Tom Kench to come through. I think that makes sense for Rogue right here. But the big change up, okay, yes, the Ornn. I like that coming in early. So OG was already coming in with some differences in their game plan. They didn't want the early Azir, so they banned that one away. So now that Rogue don't have a mid laner to counter pick, they're going to blind pick. Who are they going to blind pick for? It's probably jungle or top lane. But knowing that Ornn was the pick last game for Rogue, I think OG would have banned that one. So both teams are sort of playing some mind games against each other, going for earlier picks on some champions that very likely would get removed in the second phase.
But that's also what you want to see in a best of 5. We're 4 games in, Not only is there the patch that you have to contend with, then you've got player preferences, hence the reason Karthus and Gragas has been banned every single game, along with the Kalista and the Syndra. Get those off the pools. Then you start to have this in-series meta develop. The Renekton has been a common thread that I'm sure many, many, many people will debate for many days to come, especially depending on what Alphari's performance is going to be. But now I am very excited. What is Xerxe going to run in the jungle? Well, Karthus is God, Gragas has got Olaf, Joven. Does he go Set again? He doesn't go Kindred. Surely he doesn't go Kindred.
So what they may end up doing is actually saving jungle counterpick again, like they did in the last game. Because remember, this Nautilus can still go in towards mid lane. And Rogue are already sort of thinking that. They're removing the Yuumi from the equation, right? They have a Tom Kench down there. They're not going to be able to punish a Yuumi very effectively. So they want to make sure that's off the board. And then also remove the Cassiopeia themselves. This is really, really interesting for me because I actually think this is a game where you could probably run the Nautilus in mid lane. So what they're going to do is they're going to block in the Set. Now, Set can go top, jungle, mid support. Nautilus can go mid support. Renekton can go top lane, mid lane. So there's a lot of flexibility left here for Origen, and I'm pretty sure we've actually seen Nukeduck play that Renekton in the mid lane before.
We have.
Yes.
No, we absolutely have. And okay, so the reason I love this is like my head, dude, it just tunnels, right? I can only think so many layers, significantly fewer layers than you can, my friend. So I had already just assumed that it was MF not bot, and then, you know, you throw in all this flexibility. One of the things that Origen was praised for at the beginning of the split, draft Kingdom, draft Kings, they were incredible. Then towards the second half of the split, the meta changes and it shifts, and then we're like, draft 50-50 coin flip, we either love it or we hate it. But I really like what I'm seeing. And now on the other side, the Irelia's locked in, which also means the Ornn and the Aurelia could swap as well, couldn't they?
They could, in theory. We'll wait on that because, of course, like Finn is like the acclaimed Aurelia player here, so could rock that in top lane. So Origen have gotten what they want. They wanted to put Inspired on Sejuani. This was a run back of the second game's draft where they banned second phase Olaf and Jarvan, and Inspired's fallback was the Sejuani. So now it is going to be the Set in the jungle, of course, with a LeBlanc in the mid lane. So Set's the only like odd man out here, which ends up being pretty expected at the end of the day, of course. And when you're looking at it, Origen probably aren't going to flex Renekton into mid lane. Like, Alphari has just loved Renekton so far this split. Like, they're always first picking this champion for him. So it's going to be pretty standard when all is said and done here. But I am concerned about the Sejuani pick, about the Ornn pick, because now that there's a LeBlanc in the equation, it's really hard to lock her down with this more predictable CC that has a long travel time, when usually that's your big strength. Against a LeBlanc and against a Cleanse MF, that's going to be much harder to lock down.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And now we get to see what Larssen can do on another stylistically different pick, right? Game 1 and 2, game played around mid lane. Nukeduck and Larssen not really hugely involved. Game 3, slightly different story. Nukeduck's Azir, game-changing Emperor's Divides in the team fights. And despite attempts from Larsen's Echo, he just really wasn't set up for success. The timing of the engages, the locations of the engages, the amount of information for the engages. Let's see what Rogue can do. Their backs are against the wall as they're taking on Origen. And welcome back to, as I've already mentioned, what could be the last game of the day. We ended the draft talking about the slipperiness of Nukeduck's LeBlanc. I am personally excited because I think I said at the beginning of game 1, Ender, that I want to see Nukeduck on playmakers. I want to see him on champions that he can outshine. And I really like the fact that he's on a LeBlanc now. Xerxe Set also was very exciting when he ran it in game 2, I think it was.
It was 2,
and now when you combine Set plus Renekton, Set plus Nukeduck, I think a lot of people are going to be able to dunk on enemies.
Yeah, you got some fun stuff for sure in this game, and I'm already looking at like the summoner spell choice for Nukeduck in mid. It's not a teleport, which is standard. It's an ignite, which is immediately sending off alarm bells into my head. Why would a LeBlanc take an ignite in this matchup with a Set? Wait a second, maybe we're looking to play around mid lane, because you think about it, Larssen, if he's ever going forward for minions in mid, this is something I like to talk about a lot with melee mid laners in particular, because the lane is so short. When you have a ranged mid laner, it's super hard to gank them when the lane's in a neutral state, because when they're last hitting, they're 550 units away from those minions. When you have a melee mid laner, you have to really extend to get those last hits, which makes mid lane gankable. Now with a Set in the jungle, I don't think it's super likely, but LeBlanc has a lot of setup CC, and post level 6 with Predator Boots, Xerxe can certainly point and click on anyone on the map, and I can't see why Aurelia would be any different.
Okay, so just as I started talking about LeBlanc, and I've been very excited by it, Upset takes a lot of damage. He gets exhausted, actually, as Destiny caught the Dredge line. As you all know, we've got a fantastic stats team behind the LEC production squad, and they're working with us as well. I got a note on my chat saying, hey, Trev, I know you're hyped about LeBlanc, but hashtag warning. Nukeduck is 6 wins and 16 losses all time on LeBlanc. So he's like, I know you're excited, but the stats maybe say otherwise. So let's see if he can add an additional win to that column, because that is not a particularly strong win-loss.
No, that's not here for Mr. Nukeduck. And honestly, there's not a ton of great targets for the LeBlanc to hit later on in this game, which is why when we get into the team fights, it's going to be all jump on Hans for Origen. That's the idea. Last game, it was Alphari. He was doing it pretty much solo. Sometimes Xerxe would get involved. In this game, LeBlanc's mission in life is going to be to get Vander to pop his Devour, because the second he pops his Devour and then Hans comes out of it, that is when an Alphari flank can come in, Xerxe can pick up a frontliner and dunk him straight into Hans back. Like, that's the type of play that they need to pull off, and it really is just as simple as distorting forward, dropping a QR combo down onto Hans, and forcing Vander rather try and soak up all that burst damage.
Yeah, then you just let Renekton set, bullet time, do all the rest of it, right? And jump forward. I mean, okay, let's take a
quick
look at
pause,
what
Trevor. Here's
game.
the dive.
Yes.
So this is what I talked about in game 2.
Yep.
Is diving with set jungle is super, super good because of your W, and also because the enemy top laner can't run away. Now, Finn smartly just upgraded the Ruby Sapphire, so that's 180 extra HP. Let's see if he can dodge the game.
Very good knock-up. That's going to allow 2 tower shots onto Xerxe. He manages to go Super Saiyan and spite some melee, but he gets the teleport out of Larssen. That is still a win in the Origen book.
It's a big win right there, too. You know, you get the TP out. Now, I think Finn will probably teleport in towards mid lane to soak up that minion wave. That should come through now. He's just waiting for his mana bar to come back up. No, he's actually going to teleport into top lane. So they're just going to give up that full... I think this is a mistake from Rogue. So what they could do is they could both swap for 1 minion wave and then trade back. What ends up happening is now Finn is going to recover some EXP in the top lane and some gold off of those minions coming on in, but Larssen is denied 3 melees on top of the wave that he soaked before that to go up into top lane. Now, he picked up a couple from top too, because Finn just started channeling his recall, but if you're trying to min-max there, I think Rogue could have played that better.
Oh my word, this bottom lane has just been trading all day, and Ender, I want you to explain it to me, because Xerxe just comes running in with the Predator.
Look at Hans!
Inspired is in range. Hans flash forward. He needs to get the flamethrower further. Upset in Destiny, they've managed to put range. Not going to be enough just yet. First blood picked up by Alphari, who teleports bottom. It was a melee in the bottom lane, and it started with consistent damage trading between the duos.
It's just a heartbreaker right there for Hans.
Unbelievable.
Upset in Destiny, we're just a sliver of HP away from going down, and he was 1v2ing that. Let's be honest, Vander was running away. He was doing everything in his power to turn that play around, because there was no escape once the teleport started coming in. Now this, in all honesty, is a pretty good read from Inspired to be down here at to try and counter-attack this gank coming in from Xerxe. But the TP mismatch, because Finn teleported back into top lane, he could not respond down towards bot side. Hansama had to run forward to keep his teammates alive, was just hoping for a kill, and it did not work out in the end.
It really didn't. So Origen get first blood. They're not done yet.
No.
I mean, Destiny and Xerxe are now looking for a
They're
play.
one and the same now.
Yes, it's just my brain, just like combined them. But I'm going to wait to see if we've got a moment. I just want to remind everybody, we've not really hit it too hard, but this is still an elimination game. This is a gauntlet, of course, in the lower bracket. Misfits were eliminated by Rogue, and Rogue are again in a do-or-die match. If they lose this game, they go done. Of course, because of their seeding from the regular season, they get placed into the lower bracket of our playoffs. And holy moly, even if you win the series, you are set up with a showdown against G2 Esports on Sunday for the final position on the finals weekend. Now, Ender, I want you to add onto that in a moment, because as it stands, Larssen is going to get jumped on. Dredge Line will catch him and pull him backwards, and with the combination from Nukeduck plus the Ignite, it will be a kill, but it's traded 1-for-1. And again, let's touch on the fact that OG, they weren't even meant to play today.
Sure, that's the crazy thing, because, like, say what you about Rogue, right? Their backs are against the wall. They don't have the luxury of double elimination, but they finished, you know, they just squeezed their way into playoffs right at the end right there. OG finished in 3rd place, and they said, hey, if all goes according to plan, Mad Lions lose. We only have to play 1 best-of-5 this weekend. And then you play against Mad Lions, and that's not too bad, right? But everything did not go according to plan, because G2 ended up losing that series because they were the higher seed. G2 was the squad that got the bye. So now OG had to come into this week not only playing G2 on Sunday, assuming they win this game, but also this series against Rogue, making prepping for these series much more difficult. Like, how do you spend your time? Do you split it between the two teams? Do you all in on Rogue and then hope for the best against G2? Do you all in on G2 and hope for the best against Rogue? Like, there's no really good answer right there. So because everything, you know, broke down in that manner, OG came in and had to, you know, put up a strong performance today just to get to face down G2.
Just to earn the rights to face the defending champions. And right now, the Infernal Drake is going to get easily secured here. Xerxe, he did pop the Predator, won't find a target.
Look at top lane, though.
You talked about the prep, Ender. We've already praised Xerxe for reading Inspired. Now Alphari is looking to dunk down on Finn. He's got himself the Bilgewater Cutlass already. He threw down the Dominus, and he's farming between the towers again. Proxy farming, as you will. Dirty farming, depending on your preference of terminology. But while that's happening, now Xerxe is looking for another opportunity. He's got the Showstopper available to him. He can flash Showstopper, flash Suplex, decides against it. As Hans Sama was backing away, had himself the Flamethrower out, and manages to push OG away.
All right, so now it's past 8 minutes, and the Dragon is down. I think they're just going to ult that wave, right? Upset just cleared that one away, and now swap in towards the Herald, using that ultimate to buy themselves a lot of time up here. That's why Inspired is actually running on over here and trying to start this one up. It's trying to sneak it away from Origen before this rotation comes on through. And because it's a I was about to say because it's Tom Kench, they can actually pour it up in there, but it's a level 5 Tom Kench. Yeah. This play is a little bit more risky. You can see Inspired not feeling super confident, is pulling the Herald way towards his team to try and make this one actually work out.
Destiny's trying to get this quickly as he can. He does manage to get the vision from the Scryer's Bloom, and with Upset using that strut movement speed advantage, will be able to get up. All right, so Rift Herald does not go down. Origen, 2 kills to 1. They're 1,000 gold up, but they did concede the Infernal Drake. It is a Cloud spawning in 3.5 minutes. And when we look at this duo in this top lane matchup, slightly sort of meta question for you, Ender. Hans, Sama, and Vander as a 2v2, how do you feel they've performed today against Upset and Destiny as far as the 2v2 is concerned? Because this laning phase kind of went Hans, Sama, and Vander's way until jungle intervention.
Yeah, so this laning phase, like Hans Sama obviously got a big CS lead off that play as mid lane Nukeduck, the slippery man, is able to get on out of there and goes back in for a little BM auto attack. You'll love to see it. I believe you did ask a serious question before that play happened, though, even though it deserved its time in the life. It was how like Hans Sama and Vander have actually fared in this 2 versus 2, and honestly, I think they've done a pretty good job. I would say I do not feel the 2v2 has decided this match really at all. It has been about junglers, it has been about top laners, and when bot lane has swung one way or the other, it's come down to like TPs into the bottom lane from Finn, like you remember that game 1 play that was really sweet, or junglers getting down there. And that's where I would say OG have the edge, because they have managed their minion waves better to set up for Xerxe ganks, not just in this game, but in the last game as well. You remember one of those big kills came down from Xerxe getting in there, game 2 as well. So it hasn't been about anything about mechanics or anything like that. It really does just boil down to the fact that OG have controlled their lane states better than Hans Sama and Vander in the 2v2.
One interesting trend that I have noticed, historically Origen had been a team that had conceded dragons in favor of Rift Heralds. All split long, that had been a decision-making priority or a decision-making tree that they had followed and abided by. But Rogue have had the better of them as far as the Rift Heralds are concerned this series. Admittedly, OG have been in positions where it hasn't impacted them hugely. You can see they've got a gold lead. So even if Shelly comes down and pops a few plates, it'll even the game out. But comparatively, it's a little different to what we've seen in the past. Finn, flash is available to him. He's already used the Unstoppable. Call of the Forge Guard comes down. By some time, Xerxe slam dunk, I think, was interrupted by the Bellows Breath, and that means that Finn takes a few extra seconds to go down before Vander arrives.
Like, Xerxe was trying to, like, pull its Excalibur out of the stone right there. Just went flying. Finn was sitting there. He's just a rock, man. Wasn't going to go anywhere. They still
the Bellows Breath? Was it the Bellows Breath timing for the Showstopper? That literally just interrupted it.
So Xerxe was going to hold on to his ultimate, but then Alphari landed the stun on Finn, so he's like, oh, wait, I have the window where I can press R, but as he's in animation, Finn comes out of the CC and just presses W, so it was a bit unfortunate, but this is a sweet repeat play.
No.
Oh, Hans Sama, you're way too far forward, buddy. everybody.
Is this gonna
Alphari
work?
is an alcove gamer.
Is this gonna work? This is the best alcove play I've seen. Oh, no, no, no. That's my fault. Sorry,
Never mind.
Alphari. I cast a curse to you. Nevertheless, the setup was great. Hans had the support from the rest of the team, and Finn's teleport definitely helps out.
I love this. Look at Upset go.
Yeah,
just land
definitely.
the chains.
Bullet time should be just about enough. Not available, not available. Upset is going to pick up the kill and flash to safety. He's definitely playing to win the series and set up a showdown with G2.
Trev, what happened to Origen? This is not the Origen I know. Games 2, 3, and 4 have just been a very different way for this team. And I love kind of everything I'm seeing, or at least the majority of it here as they look for yet another play inside of this river with 5 members around.
I mean, that sends a huge message. When you see Upset after he's pushed the wave, roam to back up Nukeduck, and go for the tower dive on a ganking Misfortune without an ultimate, it's a glimpse into the mentality and the mindset of the bot laner. And also when you look at the draft, I kind of made a bit of a joke about it in the previous game, but we have seen 26 unique champions played in these 4 games. That's the same amount that Rogue and Misfits had, and 3 more unique champions than OG versus Fnatic. A lot has changed. The priority on Ornn, the decision making that Origen had when they played Fnatic, could not be more different to what we are seeing today. And what this means to me is OG are adapting, they're changing a little, and it adds some question marks to what potentially will happen on Sunday. Regardless of who wins here, G2 are going to have a lot of information to digest to figure out how do they approach their opponent on Sunday's BO5.
Right, and obviously they still need to get through this game first.
Yes.
And people will come out of this game and be like, oh, like Origen, like not that much has changed, right? They're still the same old Origen. It's just the quality of opponents is different, right? And you can make that statement when it's Rogue compared to Fnatic. But the fact is, they are playing differently. Don't look at the scoreboard, don't look at the teams, look at how they are moving on the map. And Origen are playing very smart, very controlled League of Legends. Like, Alphari smurfing down here on towards Finn. It's a very, very good matchup, but this pressure now in bottom lane, in top lane down with Nukeduck as well with a big CS lead there too. They're going to keep pushing down towards Rogue further and further, and you expect to see them balloon this gold lead. That mid game that Origen maybe haven't been super great at taking a lead and pushing it further in the past, that has not been an issue for them today in the games where they get early leads.
Completely agree. Completely. And Alphari on this Renekton 101. Blade of the Ruined King completed, another 47 CS, correction, 42 CS until his Cull will also proc. It's helping OG get this 2,500 gold lead. They've evened out the tower score. And despite the fact that I personally have memed the Renekton a little bit, I think we cannot deny the pressure that Renekton applies in-game during a laning phase. Regardless of the performance, regardless of the scoreline, when a Renekton is in a game, the players have to consider and evaluate what can it do. And right now, Alphari is showing a pretty good showing. Keeping in mind the tower dive from Xerxe top, despite it being outplayed, there's been plays around Alphari, and right now, Rogue are being pinched in. Line will find the target. Gets dunked on. The Devour comes out from Vander. That buys a lot of time. Enough time for Larssen to come out. The Flawless Duet gets a 2 or a 3-man stun. And Inspired will get taken out.
Thank you very much, says Nukeduck, for that kill. Able to pick that one up easy peasy right there. That was a really good position for OG to look for a fight inside of that tight corridor with all the AoEs. You saw Xerxe again picking up Inspired, throwing him down onto Hans in the back line with the ultimate from Destiny 2 coming on in there. Those are the types of plays Origen are going to continue to try and run in these skirmishes and in these fights the later we move in.
What I also really like, Upset's Misfortune, Essence Reaver to 0-2. He's moving himself around the map, right place, right time. I even love the fact that Scryer's Bloom gives complete and utter vision, just before the fight starts.
I mean, they just got pincered right there. Rogue thought they were going over towards Larssen. Little did they know Xerxe was sitting right there to be able to find that collapse, and it's very hard to run away from this team. Lots of slows, lots of CC. Someone's going to have to die, and that's going to be Larssen there taking one for the team.
4,500 gold. Bounties on Alphari, Nukeduck, and Upset. You cannot ask for a better setup if you're an Origen fan. And now Rogue, they will get themselves some time on the second Rift Herald. But Origen are around and they may want to contest. Bullet time is up for Upset. And this Herald is going down fairly slowly. Nukeduck's around as well. There's a flank from Xerxe. He's popped the Predator. He's looking for an engage. There's no showstopper to stop the show for Rogue. And the Herald will finally be secured. Now, pickup is done. And I'm waiting for the engage. Destiny's
Look at Alphari on the bottom.
And Destiny's ultimate is just about to come available. Dominus as well. They need a few more seconds. Waiting for the go. The bullet time destroys Rogue. It is time to go home as Rogue have lost 4 members. Finn is the only one standing. That was a team fight of beauty.
Absolutely. That's the difference between thinking you're going to win a team fight and knowing you're going to win a team fight. Rogue thought they could win. Hansama was stepping forward, trying to put down some auto attacks on towards Xerxe. OG were smashing them as Alphari able to pick up the kill, able to flash away from there. Finn will go down, saving his tower, but another kill going the way of Origen, and now a TP to boot.
That was a really valiant effort from Finn, though. Will it have set up a kill for Larssen? No. Larsen's going hunting. I don't think he knows
he's baiting him.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know. The stun comes in. Alphari's going to dance and dash around. Vanguard's edge by some time. But it's Alphari that gets in. Come on. A new champion appears. Let's find out how effective he is. Inspired is chasing Xerxe.
Just
Inspired's
quit.
in Trumpville. Oh. And it is not super effective. Inspired will not be able to set anything up as Destiny uses the dredge line to safety. Now Upset, he starts to back away. Moonlight Vigil comes down, Destiny stays alive. Finn face plants into the wall. That's a Devour as Vander brings up Hansama and spits him to safety. Rogue are throwing themselves into the meat grinder and Origen are eating them alive.
Oh no, Rogue are getting restless right here. They're just throwing everything and trying to get a kill, but all they end up doing is feeding more and more over into the waiting arms of Origen. That's now 8,000 gold here, completely blown open. That's the mid game we've been wanting to see from Origen. They pick the right fights, and once again it is coming off of these beautiful flanks from Alphari. He is finding a way into every single fight that makes Rogue have no reasonable way to escape.
14 stacks on Nukeduck's Magi's. 405.
Oh.
Upset. 405 on his Misfortune. I don't know how much gold he has in his pocket. If our preservers could flick over. Let's see how much he's going to spend. Oh, he's already spent it. Thank you. Missed that one. 205 for Alphari's Renekton. They picked themselves up the Mountain Drake a few moments ago. The Cloud was mistakenly on the wrong side. We have obviously rectified that. So it's Cloud and Mountain on the side of Origen. 6.5, 7,000 gold advantage. They're on match point. They're 12 kills to 1 with a hella fed. That is the technical term. A hella fed LeBlanc. And right now, Origen are looking like they want to close the series out 3-1.
Yeah, and I mean, Rogue know what's happening to them as well, right? You don't see these sort of desperate plays unless you know you're just miles behind your opposition. Because once again, Nukeduck is going in and maybe they find the turn.
Really nice distortion. None of the call. The Forge God doesn't land at all. 2 more kills for OG. Nukeduck goes down, and the only solace that Rogue can take is dropping his Magi stacks in half. That's it. That's the biggest celebration, and maybe a little bit of gold from the shutdown. 2 kills to 14, 8,000 gold lead, and OG aren't done yet.
Oh, I can't believe it. Finn actually missed the punchback on the Forge God right there. They end up losing another team fight, and like Rogue, what do they do at this point? This team, they have to be trying to fight. You know, they came into this season with so many expectations,
yes.
I feel, right? After, you know, upsetting Splice last year in the best of 5s, people thought they could make it to Worlds. They didn't do that, but they made upgrades to their roster. I just...
Oh.
Now you're looking at a situation, right, where your backs are against the wall, the enemy team is up 2-1 in the series, and now you're down almost 10,000 gold, and you're missing Ornn ultimates. That has to be devastating to your mentality.
But it tells you so much about their mentality, and Rogue was supposed to be the 4th best team. If you go back to pre-Spring Split expectations, looking at the roster, looking at the organization, looking at development last year, then Misfits and Mad Lions, honestly, come out of nowhere, right? They surprised a lot of people. Mad Lions surprised so many people, they eliminated G2 from the upper bracket last weekend. And Rogue were watching, maybe envious. The Mad Lions story was supposed to be Rogue's. And now Rogue are on the brink of being eliminated by Origen. They have put up a fight, but they have been mostly outclassed this series. And unfortunately, when you see those mistakes, like the Ornn ultimate, albeit, look, the team's down 8-9k. That's not the reason they're going to lose the game in the series, but it's a glimpse into what level of pressure these players are under.
And while Rogue feel completely helpless right now, just trying to put the pieces together of this puzzle of how to actually come back, there's a walk in the park for Origen. There's absolutely no pressure on them. They're up a series. They're winning by a mile in this game. Full control over the map currently. It's up to Rogue to just keep trying to force plays, throw themselves into Origen, and all Origen have to do is catch that toss straight on in and punch them right back in the teeth.
Right, so let's see how they finish the game out. 4 towers secured, Ender. There's a Mountain Drake in a minute and a half. They've got a Baron to play. Oh, just kill Rogue. Go. That's the plan. 4 members of Rogue are stuck inside the jungle as Hans is now backing away into the lane. Moonlight Vigil, I don't think, does absolutely anything, and Inspired is already down. The Glacial Prison did not matter at all. Alphari takes a trip to the side, and I think they're going to go hunting again here, and there's the depth charge from Destiny.
Look at the Alphari flank again.
Vander. Vanguard's Edge doesn't even find a target. Finn connects with Call of the Forge. Guard is forced. Upset away. Hans stays alive, but I don't think it matters at all. Larssen is surrounded by 3 members as Alphari 3-0-6. Blade of the Rune King, Black Cleaver, BF Sword is destroying Rogue. And Finn is just trying to do something. He's hunting himself a diver. And Destiny, even with a little bit of time to dance and taunt, Finn will be the next target.
Yeah, Finn is now stuck in the middle of 5 members of Origen, tries to run towards upset, and Alphari's going to flash forward. They just want blood, they want kills, and they want Finn. Finn with his 3rd death of the game. Now Origen take yet another before recalling in Silent Inspired. Hey, he doesn't know if they're on the Baron or not. He's going to jump into the meat grinder now too.
Do you know here in Germany they eat a lot of wild boar, and I think Origen have taken a liking to the flavor. Hans manages to pick up a kill onto Nukeduck. How? Honestly, I'm not even sure, but again, it's reset the stacks. By the way, Nukeduck got up to 16, Magi's died, dropped to 8. He went up to 16, died, now he's back down to 8. This is the mini game.
Oh no, they're all in the bush, aren't they? Hans!
He's going to survive for now. Devour spits him back out. Oh, the Chakrams do a lot. Larsen's managed to arrive. The Vigil will be able to find at least a single route. Upsets come in to arrive at the party. Bullet time. 1, 2, 3 members are being rat-a-tat-tatted by that bullet time as Finn's teleport brings him right into the fray despite getting a 3-man knockup. His AD carry is dead. His mid laner is run for his life. And Rogue have conceded 20 deaths in 25 minutes. Origen can decide how they want to play this game out, but they are poised to win. And it actually...
Not again! Not again! Please, not again! They can't keep getting away with this!
No, you absolutely cannot.
They can't keep getting away with this, Trevor.
There is a lot that will need to be unpacked. There is a lot of decision-making. Like, Ender, you said at the beginning of this game, it was decision-making in Game 3 that cost Rogue. The draft was fine, right? They could have made it work, but they picked bad fights. And now, when they are more desperate than they have been all year long, with no more room for error, there are unfortunately too many errors.
Yeah, I mean, Origen, like, there hasn't been a ward in the river for the last 8 minutes. That's why Inspired keeps running in. It's because he thinks Origen are on Baron, but they're never on Baron. They're just waiting. They're just looking for more and more picks here, so... Continue to blow up that advantage even more. Now it will be the next Mountain Drake of the game for Origen. Rogue taking this time to get vision, but it's a long way to go.
I'd like to play one last mini game with you, Ender. It is a slightly positive, uplifting one. Will Nukeduck hit 20 stacks? Give me a yes or no.
Yes.
Let's find out.
He's going to hit 25 stacks after this fight, Trevor.
Oh, let's find out. Vander does get caught by the dredge line. Alphari has come in from behind. Baron is going so low. We'll find out who's going to win the smite fight. Nukeduck and Upset have arrived. Bullet time is available. It's going into the pit. That's Inspired dead. Rogue dead. Bullet time picks up Baron dead. Rogue are done, and Rogue will be eliminated by Origen in the 2nd round of playoffs. Hans is putting as much damage down as he can.
Here comes Xerxe, though.
And Xerxe sneaks in from behind, hits him with the haymaker, and Nukeduck sends a sigil of malice into his face. 25 kills, 22 stacks secured. I want to know if he hit 20. Ender said he hit 25. I think you're close to right, my friend. But as it stands, Origen with Baron, can they end? I think that they can.
So they have Baron buff. It's probably going to be 2 inhibitors here. We're still only 27 minutes of the game, so the death timers are short. They're not even going to stick around for the first inhibitor. I honestly, Origen are playing with their food. They just want more kills. They just want more kills.
Your team's not there. It's a Tom Kench arriving with no support. Nobody was in his belly. Inspired jumps in, uses his ultimate. It does nothing. Larssen is down, and Rogue are
and Alphari's on the flank again.
Rogue are defeated.
Unbelievable. Still charging on forward there. OG coming around on the flank with a suplex to snipe out Inspired in the back line. Dive into the backside as well as Finn gets deleted from Summoner's Rift. Origen are going to be able to walk in for the rest of the victory to finish off the game, to finish off the series, and to go up against G2 on Sunday.
There's no doubt about it. Origen with a better team today, defeating Rogue 3-1. I think I can forgive the last few deaths from Rogue. I think the last 3 to 5 minutes, they were down so far. They were just checking Baron. They tried to make a play, but it was not great to watch.
No.
But I think I can understand why, and I want to empathize with the players. They have just been eliminated from playoffs, from their gaming houses, under such difficult circumstances, and ending the split in a little bit of a disappointing tone. I can empathize with why they did it, but all kudos and congratulations to Origen. They earned the victory today.
Absolutely, Trevor. And, you know, Rogue showed up on the day. They came out with a very impressive Game 1. Took pretty much everyone by surprise, in all honesty. And they put up a solid fight. But on the day, Origen just played better League of Legends. Xerxe absolutely showed up in the jungle, red inspired like a book. And Alphari, both in lane and out of lane, was absolutely carrying in these team fights. Everyone on Origen played well, but those 2 players in particular stood out to me.
I also want you to know that 2 out of the 3 fastest victories that Origen have picked up this year happened this series. Game 4 and Game 2 was the first and the third fastest victories, right? They are changing a little, and you can make comments on the quality of competition, of course, but they will set themselves up for a match against G2, and that's going to be interesting. Quickly, while we're setting up an interview with Xerxe, I want to ask everyone to jump on a Twitter and please vote for your Kia player of the series. At LEC is the account, and the 3 candidates are Alphari, Xerxe, or Nukeduck. And it's an interesting one because I think, honestly, I actually think any one of them could win, but I think I'm leaning towards Xerxe.
Yeah, I mean, Xerxe played a great series. Alphari played a phenomenal series as well.
Yes.
I think this is going to be a tough one, but I do just feel like I need to re-emphasize, like, Origen made huge strides from last week to this week. The amount of change, I don't think they've changed that much over 9 weeks of regular season gameplay, in all honesty. And the fact that you can spin on a dime and completely come in with a new mentality, with a new idea of how to play out these critical moments of the game, has got to give Origen fans so much more faith moving forward.
And 2 out of 3, or 2 of the quickest wins that you've had all split along a crew in the same series. You can't discount that. It's a huge testament, and especially because the way they accelerated their leads from the 10-15 minute mark to the 20-25 minute mark, honestly was a huge step in the right direction. The question is it enough for G2? What version of G2 are we going to find out? Look, these are all questions for Sunday. Ender, thank you so much for the cast today. I had a fantastic time. We are done at the caster desk, and we're going to head over to Law, who's standing by with Xerxe.
Thank you very much, Trevor. And thank you, Xerxe, for joining me. Congrats on advancing to the next stage.
Thank you.
I wanted to follow up on the interview we had yesterday because I got a bit confused watching this series. First, Rogue smashed you in Game 1, then you reciprocate in Game 2, then Game 3 was even, let's say, and then it happened again, steamrolled in Game 4. So can you tell me your take on the development of this series and if you had to adapt on Rogue here?
Yeah, I mean, the first game, I would say it was a bit of a warm-up. We didn't play too good, and then the second game, like we wanted to play safer to make sure that we can even out the series, and then we just gained more confidence, and yeah, we just and like kept getting better, as the series went on.
Okay, it's nice that you mentioned confidence. And with this victory, you will earn the right to face a very angry G2 Esport on Sunday. But we'll get to that later because playing two best-of-5 series, playoff series with elimination on the line is a new in LEC history, and you're the first team to experience that. So is it similar to getting ready for two opponents in the regular season, or is it different here for you?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have to put more time into thinking about both teams because like it's not we don't only play like one best of one or like two best of ones against two different teams. It's like a full-on best of 5 against two teams, so we have to prepare much more and so much more in advance. So yeah, it's going to be a tough task, but I'm sure we can handle it.
And even though Rogue and G2 are very completely different teams, is there anything you learned from this series that will help you on Sunday, you think?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think we played good, and I think what matters is that we just get like we believe in ourselves, and we just have the confidence for G2.
Okay, because yeah, you will get the pleasure of facing G2 after what happened to them last week. And one thing that we're all wondering, and the cast mentioned it as well, is what will be, I mean, which phase of G2 will we see on Sunday? What do you expect from them based on what we saw last week?
Well, I definitely expect them to play much better than they did against Mad. I don't think, like obviously, like they had the whole week to prepare, and I feel like they didn't show what they can actually do in that series. So yeah, it's gonna be tough.
There's been a discussion around did G2 underperform or did Mad really overperform here? So what do you think about this series they played? And I mean, was it really the G2? It wasn't the G2 we're used to seeing, but yeah, what do you think about this series? Did they really underperform?
I would be more inclined. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I would be more inclined to saying that G2 underperformed.
Okay. So
but obviously, obviously, Mad Lion still played really good.
For sure.
Not to take any credit.
Yeah, they deserve the victory, of course. Now, the casters were wondering who should be the player of the game here. I know you're on contention for the player of the game. So do you think you earned it in this series?
Yeah, I think I had my fair share of good plays, but obviously, I think personally I would give it to Alphari.
Alphari? Okay, based on what?
Yes.
Okay, let's give some props to the teammates now.
I mean, he had good TPs, good laning phase, and he's always like solid in the top lane, and I know I can always rely on him.
Okay, well, we'll see if this synergy manages to shine on Sunday. Xerxe, thank you so much for joining me today, and good luck against G2 on Sunday. I guess I hope I get to talk to you after the best of 5. And we will be back with the Fisio on PGL in a few minutes, but we're going to take a break first. See you soon.
Oh, hello. Lord told me we were taking a break. That's a picture of Ender in the middle. Yamato's here too. Deficio's also here. I can't hear him right now, but we'll figure that out momentarily. So in the meantime, Deficio, while I wait to be able to hear you, I'm going to ask Yamato. Yamato, final thoughts on that series. I feel like we did a lot of good things coming out from the side of OG, but I kind of wanted to get your take on it.
Rolled over, they kept snowballing, and I think that's the key word, just the snowball.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if the pace of the game for OG here was indication of more of the kind of more steady, we talked about it on Euphoria, but kind of like struggles with extending those leads in the mid game, or if this is just the playstyle that they felt would work best against Rogue. Obviously, it's a very difficult week for OG now. They were expected to win. They're now coming in up against G2 on Sunday, and we talked to Gyoto as well about how hard it actually is to prep for what is set to be, if you have your expectations set high, a double best-of-5 weekend.
Yeah, it's super exhausting. You know, I've been there as well. I remember playing regional qualifier multiple times. I remember facing Origen after beating Giants and won best of 5, and then the next day we have to play Origen. We took it to 5 games, and in that fifth game, we were just too tired to push at all. Like, we were just exhausted. The players were exhausted, and you can really, really feel it. I think here Origen are blessed with an additional day to prepare, and also Gelato raised some interesting points in the fact that, you know, what do you choose to put your energy into, because you have to allocate your resources in a proper manner. And it seemed today, over the first game draft, that it was like, yeah, we're just gonna draft some stuff and see what happens, and then they bounced back, realized they need to put in some fire, and they showed. I think G2 still have a lot to prove. OG have a lot to prove too.
And as well, we looked at the series. Of course, you heard from Xerxe himself. Key player of the game should be Alphari. He always won his lane. He always had his TP. He had everything going for him. He did win 45% of the votes for Alphari. I think a classic Alphari performance after last week with Finn, after game 1 when he wasn't able to obliterate Finn off the map, when that Ornn was still able to do so much work when the Renekton wasn't. I got worried. I was very worried for our boy Alphari, because normally he's just so good. He's so dominant. But that very quickly changed. The Kennen was the first indicator, and after that it was nonstop. It felt like the Alphari show every single game. Obviously a ton of support from Xerxe coming in to make that happen. Give good credit to him, but overall Alphari proving that he's worth that #1 spot on the all-pro team.
It was crazy how much he was doing with Aatrox. You know, Aatrox in that game, with the level of play he delivered, he scaled better than the Ornn because of how much he actually did. Barring the enemy composition didn't have any grievous wounds or anything, it still had, it was a crazy amount of impact in terms of how he just flanked over and over, won those fights, killed the Aphelios that had a Tahm-Kench to protect him, but it just didn't matter because Alphari was on a whole nother level.
All right, Martin, I've been informed you are now audible for me.
Hello, do you hear me?
Try speaking. Oh my god, yes. I've been waiting. I didn't know how this was going to work.
It worked?
This is some black magic. Yeah.
Be honest here. I could speak from the start. You just didn't want me to talk. So you told me I was muted, but I wasn't.
No, I'll be honest. Sure this is my bad, because Xerxe has been through the fire and the flames of online production, and I haven't. So I just, you're not in the Discord channel that I'm currently talking in. Spoiler alert, using some Discord action right now. So I just assumed I would never be able to hear you. And that's just me being a mediocre host at this point in time. But it resulted in us ignoring you for 5 minutes for comedic effect. And now we can get your opinions on
I just wrote a sign saying hello. You guys can't see it, but I was trying to communicate through typing because I wasn't sure if you guys were actually able to hear me. But
can you make a thumbs up and a thumbs down? We'll go back to pretending not to be able to hear you and communicate exclusively in binary, ones and zeros. No, but how did you feel watching this series behind the scenes?
Pretty good overall. I guess game 1. I don't know. Game 1 was really weird. So. Yes, we did the thing you're not allowed to do, where we gave them a Xerxe. Had a few things to test out. But I think, it wasn't really the draft. I think we just didn't really show up for game 1, which was pretty bad. Because there were some really standard mistakes happening around TP calls and so on. So game 1, slightly stressful, but at the same time, we had quite a lot of plans in case something went wrong. So when we applied that for game 2, we won in 28 minutes. I started feeling really good again. And I felt like we were a level above Rogue, and we've been a level above them the entire year. So I was never nervous for the series. But at the same time, you can always have a really bad day, or maybe they had a super good read on something. Luckily, that was not the case. And yeah, I just felt like we were better than them, and that showed across 3 of the games at least.
So, Deficio, I want to get your take on something that Yamato and I were discussing, which was kind of the unique situation that you're in for prep. Now, you faced it last spring of 2019 of back-to-back best-of-5s, one day after another in spring.
Yeah.
But now you have this day in between, doing double best-of-5s, Rogue into G2. How is the team preparing? What is it like behind the scenes, kind of trying to ramp up for the series against G2?
So it's a little bit better compared to the one last year, because what ends up happening last year is you finish a series. In our case, it was the 3 against Fnatic, and then you have to make a decision between using a couple of hours either on the day you're done playing, so delay people getting a chance to like relax and kind of like calm down after the game to then start reviewing instantly, or you send people back to the hotel to chill. They can relax a bit, and then you can start earlier on the next day to go through the last game you played, figure out what needs to change before you play the final, and then you end up again adding a lot more hours and a lot more work that requires energy within the 2 days. That's obviously not as bad now when we have the Saturday. So obviously for us, you know, during some final meetings today, once I'm done here, just kind of wrap up this day, not from an in-game perspective, but more from a team perspective, how everyone felt, small things here and there. And then tomorrow, meet up, actually go through the entire series. We just played. What was good, what was bad, what are things we have to do different, or things we need to be aware of versus G2. And then just kind of reset, because now the Rogue game is done. And you were basically putting like 99% of your focus on Rogue this week, because I mean you didn't know if you were actually going to play on Sunday, and you always feel really dumb if you start preparing 50-50 and then you don't even get to use the prep you did for the Sunday because you ended up losing. So yeah, we have a day now to kind of go through the series, forget about the series as well, and this 100 focus G2, which by the way is really hard to figure out at the moment. You guys were talking to Xerxe about underperforming G2, or sorry, underperforming Mad Lions was underperforming G2. Like, you look at that series now, and it's kind of strange to figure out what G2 actually shows up, because I feel like this year already they've shown so many different things. But I think that's always the case when you play G2. Like, you just open up the book, and you feel like anything is available.
I think when we look at it, Martin, it's really interesting because I think we're in the same boat, right? Like, what the hell do you actually take away from that Mad Lions series? Obviously, anytime you talk about G2 playing worse, people are going to take it as Mad Lions maybe not getting as much credit, but Mad Lions do deserve the credit. But also, if you're the team trying to prep for G2, Yamato, what, if anything, would you take away as a former coach from that series that you could use in your upcoming match? How much of that actually feels like good footage? How much of that just feels like a bad set of scrims for G2?
It's pretty odd. Like, I think key takeaways that you can take away for sure is like some meta problems that G2 has in terms of what they can execute on bot lane. For example, no Kalista AD carry, no Misfortune AD carry. I think these are things that are very hard to add. I think if they haven't added them already, that you can safely assume that if Kalista is going to get locked in, it's for the top side or maybe even mid lane, because I know Perks played it. Those are like takeaways you can do for sure. Everything else about it, gameplay related, I think if anything, if you are there to force mistakes tend to happen. Even in the regular season, sometimes Cap was getting caught off, Mickey was getting caught off. I think even on side, Wunder also tends to sometimes die a lot. I remember the game specifically against Mad Lions in the regular split where he got caught many times and then LeBlanc was two-fed and he just controlled the side lane and G2 lost. So I think there's always been this room for G2 to make mistakes, and I think if you kind of play in a way where you try to call them on that constantly. Mad Lions play a very, very high-paced game. They showed it against Origen in the regular split too. I think they took that gameplay into the series that they had, and it kind of worked because when those mistakes happened, Mad Lions was there to punish, and I think that's something that you can give credit to Mad Lions for. But then again, G2, I don't think they're going to mess up that badly in the next upcoming series.
It's hard though because
obviously very difficult.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I have a slight
have a bit
delay,
of a delay
so
here, Martin. I think we're behind. We're behind like 2 seconds from each other.
Exactly.
Yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead. 2 seconds from now.
I didn't actually want to interrupt you. I thought I was being polite for jumping in just when Yamato finished. But I think it is a unique thing with G2 like this year compared to last year. Because when we played them last year, obviously both in BO5s twice and also in best of ones. Like, it always felt like when you went into draft, any scenario that was possible in the meta, it would be available to them. So it's like you would always think, oh, if we pick this, well, then they have like all these options. Oh, so we can't do that. Let's change it up and do this instead. And it also made it super annoying to like draft against them because they also, it seemed like last year, had a different read on a lot of matchups compared to the standard team in Europe. Like they could take matchups like 2v2 bot lane that you would think would go one way, and then actually when they played it, it went kind of the opposite way. So that also made prep super hard, and that's one of the reasons we obviously lost so hard to them in best of fives. But that's not really been the case this year. It's actually been slightly more, I'm not sure if standard is the word to use, maybe it is, or slightly more limited in the amount of tools they seem to have in their toolbox, which is also one of the things Mad Lions obviously abused. But it is really hard to say if that's going to be the case now after a full week. Because this is the first time they lost the best of 5 in Europe, you know? They never had that thing where they needed to sit down after losing a BO5 and actually think if they were playing all the right things, if they have to change half the stuff or not. So I think it's going to be really interesting. I don't want to talk any draft-specific things because that would be really stupid of me to sit and talk about now. But I think there's a lot of question marks around them. I think people might have question marks still around us because we lost to Fnatic and then we beat Rogue today, and does that really say anything? I think we played pretty well in the last 3 games. Slightly slow finishing maybe in game 3, but it was one of those games where we know we're gonna win, just don't actually int it, just literally just play standard, play normal, and they were just wave playing with Aphelios and so on. So yeah, I feel good.
Well, and I'm happy that it's now worked out for Origen. I think overall it was a well-deserved win. Clearly the better team on the day, and now we've solidified our top 4 in Europe, which is very exciting. Mad Lions, kind of the surprise addition to that, coming in right now as potentially, if they could beat Fnatic, one of the strongest teams in the league. Something I definitely did not expect. One of the great things about Mad Lions is, of course, the rookie talent that they brought to the table. But interestingly enough, despite all those great rookies, did not win Rookie of the Split. Instead, it's our boy Razor K, a.k.a. Razork from the Misfits. And look, I'm going to be honest, fantastic first half of the split. I'm so happy with how stacked rookie talent has been thus far in the LEC. And Yamato, I want to go to you first kind of on this. How do you feel about Razork winning Rookie of the Split? How do you feel about the rookie talent right now in the LEC?
I think everybody out there is like, thinking to themselves, there's Mad Lions fans, they looked at those G2 series and they're all hyped up on Karzi and Kaiser and Shadow. But in terms of, consistent performance, in terms of being super, super impactful, I think definitely Razork had like many of those games. I think from a jungle perspective, that's difficult. I think the tricky part with Mad Lions is that there was an occasional Shadow performance that was really insane. There's an occasional Kazi performance that was really insane. Same with Kaiser. I think just Razork had, accumulated more of those pop-off games that kind of stuck in everyone's mind, while Mad Lions' performance was more of a team performance across the board. Misfits all about that mid 2v2. This is where they had most of their action. So naturally, Razork gets to have more moments where he gets to pop off. And I think with this being said, I think this is why we gravitated towards it. I saw this discussion on Reddit that, if the Mad Lions players put their votes together and put it into one player, then they would win big time. It was just the points were spread amongst them, which kind of puts them in a city position.
Interesting. I mean, I guess
of voting. Martin, you're
sorry, Dracos.
go. Damn, you're fine. That's my bad.
I know it every
time.
I'm trying to look at Yamato and trying to predict when he finishes. So I'm like looking straight at him, just being like, okay, he's probably he's gonna wrap up and now he's gonna end, and then try to jump in. But I was gonna say to the Shadow regular season point as an example. I remember like every Lee Sin game he had in the regular season, he was like popping off. But everything he had outside of the Lee Sin games, he was not. So that might be one of the reasons people were not like putting him over Razork as an example. And I mean, I think Kazi was good all split. maybe initially died a bit too much outside the lane. He was too easy to catch, but I mean, I think overall he played very solid. I think Kaiser played very solid. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's surprising Razak won. He had a great split as well. But I think it's really interesting with the rookie point. We've had a couple of rookies who I think have been performing super well. But there's also been obviously some rookies who struggled this year. So we've seen both ends, which is normal, right? Like if every single rookie you brought into the LEC would just be amazing, then either we have insane talent development in Europe, or the existing talent was just not good enough. Like it would be one of the two. I think we got to see both ends, right? We got to see the really good rookies, and we got to see some rookies who really struggled. So yeah, we got to see both sides.
Honestly, I love it. We've definitely seen both. We've seen the rookies that have pushed out the older talent. We've seen the rookies, as you said, that have gotten pushed out themselves. A lot of rough splits as well. But of course, a good day to celebrate. Congrats to Razork. Congrats to second place, I believe, Carzzy in third place. Shadow or Kaiser? Can't actually remember. You can check the article.
I voted Kaiser
on lawesports.com. I voted for my boy Carzzy. Not to do with any Euphoria wagers. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But thank you, Deficio, for joining us and sharing your insight. I won't keep you for any longer because I know that you have that important G2 series to prep for. So that's going to be all from us here tonight. But fear not, we're going to be back tomorrow for the epic clash between Fnatic and Mad Lions. Don't miss it.
I've missed you, Martin.
You too.